How do small creatures like Mortician Beetle become deadly weapons? For starters, we need orders like Shambling Ghast or Nested Shambler that give us value when they die, aka the foders, and sacrifice outlets like Carrion Feeder to assemble board presence, or Village Rites to never run out of cards. But how consistent can this deck be? We have multiple creatures that benefit from orders when they die, fodder cards that leave orders behind, and numerous sacrifice outlets that can provide value at the expense of our smaller creatures. In a nutshell, this is Mono Black Sacrifice, a deck that's not only powerful but also surprisingly cheap, and thanks to their long program, you can rent the entire deck for free on Card Hoarder. Don't miss on this, and let's jump into the game. For round 1, we got paired against Azorius Familiar, and we got to keep a solid hand as long as we drew some lands. I went for a greedy play by sacrificing a Carrion Feeder and playing my version of Delver of Secrets. Now I will live eternally in fear of their snap, as if they manage to bounce my creature it will be awful. On the other hand, Hunt for Specimen is great for this deck as it allows me to fix my mana and provides more fodders in the long game. And as it matters, it will fix my mana right away. As expected, they bounce the Bond Picker and surprisingly, they counter my Environmental Sciences, which allow me to get rid of their wall. I decided to sacrifice my Pest to replay my Bond Picker, which they will try and bounce, but I decided to sacrifice it to not let them untap with their lands. And that was not a great plan. You see, the issue with that is now I have no board presence, and next turn I could have sacrificed a Pest token to play 2 Bond Pickers back to back, but since that chip has sailed, I'm looking forward now to growing my Beetles. After a couple of questionable plays, I managed to assemble a good board, but my opponent was also flawed on their side. Plus, they can bounce my creatures thanks to the Archaeomancer returning their spells from the graveyard. I attacked to clear the board, putting them down to 6, but they found a second Mulldrifter and went up in card value by returning it to hand, replaying it, and now you see where this is going. A few turns passed, and eventually they found their Archaeomancer loop explaining the above video, and locked me out of the game. For Cyborg, Mesmeric Fiends and Nihil Spellbound should be good to handle their hand and graveyard. Still, in the meantime, we will pressure the life total as much as we can by growing our Carrion Feeders and Mortician Beetle. Carrion Feeder is perfect against their snaps as it prevents them from casting multiple spells a turn and untapping their lands. I kept attacking, and one cool thing you must know is that Mortician Beetle ability triggers if your opponent also sacrifices a creature, such as the evoked ones. Now, since they are tap out, I will try to dig for some creatures to sack and steal the win, and that's exactly what happened. Unfortunately, we moved to 5 in our last game, but we keep an okay hand with 3 creatures to play. Hunt for Specimen is a great way to catch up in resources as it can give us extra cards to play. Plus, the Carrion Feeder Mesmeric Fiend combo is very good as it grows our zombies and exiles an opponent's card from their hand if we sack the Fiend with the first trigger on the stack. I took down a Mulldrifter and noticed they had 2 snaps in their hand. This made me think that if I play a second Mesmeric Fiend and sack it in response, they will just bounce my feeder and lose the counters on it forever. Because of that, I decided not to sacrifice it and kept the snap exiled. I attacked to try and get some damage, and they found a tier snap to cast against us. I was not letting them untap and immediately sacrificed my Carrion Feeder to draw more cards. Then I played a tier Fiend and sacrificed it in response, as there's no downside to doing that this time. I took a second Mulldrifter and fortunately found a second Carrion Feeder that replaced the one we just lost. Still, there's one issue. They're flyers. If I am not careful, they can kill me in the blink of an eye, so next turn I look forward to killing at least one while trying to raise them in the ground. This changed as they were left with no cards in hand and I didn't want them to gain more life, so I dealt with that problem. I found 2 more creatures and attacked with everything I had and cleared the board for future attacks. A few more turns passed and we both drew only lands, but since my board presence was better, I managed to win the game. Match number 2 is against Esper Reanimator. Again, this hand is a solid one, as I can play multiple creatures to deal a lot of damage. By turn 3, I found a Nested Shambler that allowed me to grow my creatures and play a Bond Picker for 1 mana. I tried to stabilize by playing and blinking a Mulldrifter, but a second Nested Shambler represented a little swing after removing the only blocker. So Cyborg, the formula of adding Mesmeric Fiends should work, and the Nihil Spellbounds are going to be critical as well. We developed our board faster and started attacking right away. When I tried to add more bodies to the field, I was able to remove them and draw some more cards in the process. We played and sacrificed some of our fodder creatures to start growing our Mortician Beetle. From being a mere 1-1 last turn, Mortician Beetle has turned into a 6-6 that threatened to kill my opponent and kept growing. Still, my opponent has another card up on their sleeve, by cheating a Nulla Monk Crusher into play. But as sad as it may be, my board is already good enough to ignore it, attack my opponent, and make them concede after they lost their win condition. The last game was against Boggles, a match that I was terrified of as we don't have the tools to deal with their creatures in the main board, and our only removal was dead against them. That being said, we are on the play and can capitalize on that by adding big threats into play earlier, like the bomb pickers, and putting them into a clock very fast. As long as they don't give life into their creatures, we should be in a good spot. Surprising no one, that's exactly what happened, but they decided to stay back rather than attack. They can't block and gain life, as I will sacrifice my creatures and remove them from combat, thanks to Carrion Feeder. They play a Fight Aura, realized it was a bad idea, and scooped the game. Game number 2 went very fast, as I forgot to side out my removal, and on top of that I got Mana Screw. This hand is fantastic, as it has all the tools for aggro starts. We played our first few creatures, but my opponent was not going down, so I opted to draw more cards and create a second treasure token that will enable my card draw spell. I used the Mesmeric Fiend Village Rites combo to remove their problematic creature. We are now trying to race each other, but a critical moment is about to happen. I sacrificed my creatures and grew my build to be a 5-5, but instead of attacking, I decided to bait them to make the first move and attack. That way, I can sacrifice my squirrel and grow my build to take care of their deadliest creature on the board. They attack it, and the plan worked perfectly, giving me the win for the match. Now, if you're new to Pauper and want to test other cool decks, click into that playlist. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.